Hey everybody, and welcome back to Zoom Reports TV. I'm your host, Tim Glowinko, and thank you so much for tuning in. I'm really excited to tell you that we've had the first controversy of the show. That's right, we got an email a couple nights ago, actually from a friend of mine named Eric out in California. He is a huge Chapel Hill fan, and he was rather disappointed that I referred to John Wooden as the greatest basketball coach in the college game, at least. And he was he disagreed with me there. He thought that Dean Smith is the obvious choice. So, but I think the cool thing is we're going to talk about Dean Smith coming up here pretty soon. And Eric, I promise we'll spend a week on Dean Smith. Don't want to leave anybody out of the conversation. So, the other day what we talked about was how Phil Jackson gave feedback, and he always had this 2-to-1 ratio of two positive comments for every negative comment. And what we're going to continue to talk about today is the more ways that he gave feedback and actually the way he conducted evaluations. I thought this is a really applicable thing to talk about today, since Zoom Reports is all about evaluations, number one, and then secondly, I think coaches and managers might struggle with knowing how to do them and arrive at good ways of giving good feedback. So, with the Lakers, he always conducts end-of-season evaluations where he talks to the players about, how they did in the previous season and what what he'd like them to do to improve upon and grow for the next season. And so after they've concluded talking about the previous season, this is what I think is really genius what he does. And it seems simple and enough, but he always asks them, well, what do you think we can do to improve upon this for the coming season? Now, there's two really subtle things that he brings up here, and that's one is that he uses we. So it's not saying, hey Tim, what do you need to do to improve? It's what can we do to improve? And so I think that, number one, that takes a little pressure off the player. Secondly, he asks a question. He used the old Socratic method to really stimulate the player to think about what they can do to improve, what the team can do to improve. And by doing that, it number one will empower the player to come up with their own solution. And secondly, by coming up with his or her own solution, that player will take more ownership of it because they came up with it. Think about when you guys were in school, when someone was just telling you, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, did that really make sense until you went through it? No, probably it was a more long-lasting, it made a more long-lasting impression when you came at that answer, when you arrived at that answer yourself. And then Phil Jackson uses that same technique for all his players, which I think is great. So again, what he does is he always phrases it in a question, but in a way that is going to empower them to come up with their own solution. And he uses we instead of just you, which I think is huge, just psychologically, to get the best out of his players. So, I think this is our 5th video blog so far. We're always trying to make improvements, so please give your feedback, and we'll see you tomorrow on Zoom Reports TV. Thanks so much.